What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we're building a light main battle tank for my LEGO army. Before I start building the tank, I'm building another soldier to go into my army. Like my last soldier, I'm using olive green and dark brown dual molded legs, a grey torso with dark green arms, a normal face, and custom armor. And there you go, now I have two soldiers. For my new soldier, I'm building a custom weapon. I'm using 1x1 round bricks and plates, as well as a couple other pieces to make an RPG. With that out of the way, we can start building the actual tank. For the tank bottom, I'm using some basic medium-sized dark grey plates. Next I'll add a 2x6 with some 2x2 slopes on top of it to give the back of the tank some sloping. Then I'll add a crate and some tiles and slopes to create a small cargo area. To close up the cargo area, I'm using a 1x6 crate piece. I'll place that right on the back of the tank, and then I'll start working on the front of the tank. For the front of the tank, I'll start with the bottom layer of 2x2 slopes. Instead of rounding off and sloping the front of the tank, I'm going to leave part of it flat, straight up and down. As you can see, the German Panzer tanks in World War II use a similar front as to what I'm doing, with a flat up and down front with a machine gun sticking out of the front of it. To capture the same look of that Panzer tank in LEGO, I'm starting off with a 1x6 Technic brick and several half pins in it. I'll put a tile on those half pins as well as a large 3-long Technic pin to simulate the machine gun. I'll also use this thermal detonator piece as a sci-fi sensor. Next, I'll just add a little support to the middle before I start moving on to the top of the tank. For the top of the tank, I'm using an 8x12 base with a turntable on top of it for the turret to go on, as well as several tiles to smooth out the top of the tank. I'm using a dark gray and dark green camo pattern to make it look somewhat sci-fi, but also realistic. I'm also using these jumper plates with dish pieces on top of them to make the hatches for the front of the tank for the pilot and gunner to get in and out of. With that placed on, it's time to start the treads of the tank. For the treads of the tank, I want to make them have sloped sides similar to the Russian T-34 tank. The Russian T-34 has sloping over the treads and up onto the chassis. This allows extra armor as well as it encourages ricochets. For the base of the treads, I'm just using a 1x18 Technic brick as well as having some gears and wheels inside it with a track around them all. To capture that same look as the Russian T-34, it's actually pretty easy. All you have to do is use 2x slopes and 2x corner slopes on top of the tracks. After building two of the same track modules, I'll slide them both onto the bottom of the tank. Now, to finish off the back of the tank, I'm making a cargo area. This is probably not very realistic to actual tanks, but I wasn't really sure what else to do with the back of the tank, so I decided to just put a couple guns there and call it good. The turret of the tank is divided into 5 sections. The first section is just a couple of plates. The second section is 3 2x3 inverted slopes, all placed alongside each other with slopes on top of them to round off the back of the tank turret. The next section is just a 4x8 with slopes on the sides of them and several slopes on top, as well as some greebling that I'll talk about later. The next section is just a 4x8 with slopes on the sides of them and several slopes on top, as well as some greebling that I'll talk about later. For the front of the tank turret, I'm using 2 3x3 corner slopes, as well as some slope pieces on top of them to round off the front of the tank and to give space for the barrel. For the barrel, I'm just using several Technic pieces all put together in a long line to make a nice and decent sized barrel. And there you go, that's a finished tank build. Now we can move on to the showcase. The MLT-Hornet tank is the newest and most advanced light tank, armed with 2 machine guns, rocket launcher and grenade launchers, and a 100mm Sonic Cannon. The Hornet packs a punch even while still being mobile. So there you have it folks, the Hornet MLT tank. This thing is loosely based off both the T-34 and the Panzer tank, but it's mostly just my own design. I tried to add in a little bit of like sci-fi vibes to the tank as well as keeping it relatively realistic. I armed this tank with a large frontal machine gun on the front chassis, a smaller machine gun for the commander's hatch, as well as a large cannon at the front. I'm also using a binocular piece to look like a grenade launcher, as well as having 2 Technic cylinders to look like anti-aircraft missile launchers on the top of the turret. The build process of this tank was actually pretty easy. Once I figured out roughly what I wanted it to look like, I got it done pretty quick. I did do some major modifications in the turret later, but the chassis of the tank has stayed pretty much the same. And that about sums up the build for this video. Stay tuned for my next video for when I showcase some enemies and drop a little bit of lore. Until that next video, happy building.